Hey and welcome. I'm Hammeh and this is a new idea or test for a series, sharing the games I love with you and why. Do give this a go if you're an Overwatch fan and let me know your thoughts in the comments, I'd love to hear them. So where has this come from? Outside of Overwatch and Blizzard games, I've loved gaming and the craft in the games industry for years. There are so many games I've played and enjoyed in different ways, and I've always wanted to look back on some retrospectively, share them with you guys, what I enjoy about them so much. Maybe it will give you something new to play or try. And in this first video, I want to share a game I discovered on Kickstarter a few years ago and have really enjoyed ever since. It's called the Banner Saga. It's available on PC, Xbox One, PS4, iPad and Android, so a lot of you guys should be able to give it a go if you fancy. First up, what is the Banner Saga? Well, it's a tactical combat RPG, telling the tale of a Viking and Norse-inspired world where the gods have apparently died and the sun has suddenly frozen in the sky. While the days are bathed at the moment in perpetual light, a historic nightmare race with a hatred of humans, the Dredge, have returned and gone on the warpath, destroying everything in their wake. 2 great wars have already been fought against the Dredge, but this time they've returned for reasons unknown. In the midst of this chaos, humans, giant-like creatures called the Varl, and other denizens of the world struggle to defend both their livelihoods and find safety amidst the growing conflict. You play the part of 2 different groups, some senior Varl escorting a human prince to the human capital to seal an alliance between the 2 races, and that of Rook, a hunter, widower and single parent to his daughter Alette, who is thrust into caring for more people than his own family when the Dredge attack his home village. That's a summary of the game. Well, how does it play? The meat of this game is turn-based combat, tactics style. If you've ever played a game like XCOM, Final Fantasy Tactics series, Fire Emblem, Divinity Original Sin, Shining Force for you experienced gamers, even things like Civilization, where you form a party or fight turn by turn in any turn-based style. If you've never played these kind of games before, don't worry, the difficulty is flexible and changeable on a fight-by-fight basis, as I'll explain later, so it's a good way to jump in. In the first Banner Saga you have 25 playable characters, a different bunch of classes from ranged damage dealers like archers, spearmen and axe throwers. For melee fighters you've got axemen and tank type characters. You also have menders who can kind of be healers and mages, so there's a lot of variety to tweak and customise a party for your chosen combat style. You can upgrade them of course with a resource called Renown and equip them with items and tweak their various stats as you go, classic role-playing game style, to further customise your motley crew. The other big part of the game is caravan management now, as you're effectively a wandering band of fighters and refugees. You form a big moving caravan travelling under your banner as the clansmen, civilians and fighters you command travel seeking safety. You have to manage their supplies, morale, and make decisions in a choose-your-own-adventure style that can have an effect on your combat readiness and resources whenever the next fight should occur, and even if you continue playing the game. You can run out of supplies for your caravan and simply disband on the road. Now the game is liberal and supportive with its auto and quick saving, and that's just as well, as for those of you who enjoy making different decisions, all of these things are underpinned by player choice. Any player of BioWare games will be very familiar with this. Decisions you make while travelling, while managing your caravan, conversations in camp when you're resting, and even in combat can have consequences that play out in the rest of the game. As an example, the pool of heroes that you might have to draw on can change based on your decisions. Heroes can't actually die in combat. If they fall, they receive injuries that heal when they're rested in camp, but they can certainly leave your party or perish in other ways. The gameplay for me certainly has that just one more factor in several ways. When managing your caravan, you have this feeling sometimes of just one more stop on the journey, I just want to get to the next village or safe place. And in the fighting and combat, you need to learn the encounters, so if you fight an encounter that's tough or with a new enemy for the first time and you see it's not going to be going your way, you can just reload and start it again with the knowledge that you have in mind. Now each fight you can change the difficulty before in the options, and the game liberally, as I said, quick saves for you often, so learning a fight and coming back to it is very much part of the gameplay. And of course you can turn down the difficulty if you're struggling at any point. Now I really enjoy this approach. You don't have to stick to one difficulty all the way through if you don't want, and can enjoy the game at your own pace or own challenge rating. So what do I love so much about this game? Well, there's 3 things: the story, the artwork and the beautiful soundtrack that all come together to give you this really immersive storytelling experience with a nice little chunk of gameplay that challenges you as well. Firstly, the story. Well, there's a Banner Saga and Banner Saga 2, with the third in the trilogy due in 2018, so I'm not going to spoil you the story of the first just yet in case you want to play it, but maybe I'll come back to it in lore or story videos later. In the Banner Saga, you follow a number of different stories, supporting travelling groups of people from different places across the world before the shared disaster that's befalling the world causes their paths to cross later in the game. Now, the Banner Saga story is many things, finding humour in adversity, overcoming differences to face mutual threats. Humans and Vals, for example, in this world have not historically always got on, and it shows on several occasions. Now, any game with story decisions brings consequences, and the Banner Saga is not light on the consequences of your actions. For every tough moment, there is a stack of subtle humour to contrast against it though. Unlikely friendships you make, bad jokes between friends, care and kindness for each other in unlikely circumstances, and some very odd and funny characters to boot. Now, I'm playing this game again at the moment, and the Banner Saga 2 in a cold British December, and the balance of the story and of the atmosphere of this game is very, very delicate. This could be a very bleak game set in the snow and the ice and cold, the story background of people fighting for their survival, but there's a nice balancing of warmth in the story that weighs it out as well. Now, this game is T for teen, fantasy 13 or so rated, but it still deals with some pretty complex and challenging story themes in spite of that rating. I can't go into any more details of the story without spoiling it, but the best way I can describe how much I enjoyed this story is that actually after playing the first Banner Saga, I've only just started playing the Banner Saga 2, partially because after how it ended, it left me feeling like it was a good job the next game wasn't out for a while, because I kind of needed to process what had happened. That's testament to the storytelling, I think, and how much I kind of identified with and also got to know the characters. Maybe I'll do a playthrough on a new channel or something, or a let's play for this game if you guys are interested. Now, alongside the beautiful sort of trifecta of this game, the really, really involving story is just a gorgeous art style. From the very title screens of the game through to when the caravan is moving, the beautiful backgrounds that you see as your group are travelling from place to place. You go from freezing wastelands to the relief and warmth that make it into towns, and even the backgrounds of the various different stories and conversations that you have when you're in camp are all beautifully, beautifully drawn. In combat, they have really, really detailed battlefields. There's actually action beyond the sort of classic grid that you fight on, and the ability to pan around the edges gives you something just a little bit different from that kind of top-down view if you played maybe old Final Fantasy Tactics games. Now, the art style draws heavy inspiration from Eyvind Earl, credited for, he has a character named after him too, and he was known for the background art style that he painted and kind of brought to that 1950s classic style of Disney film, including Sleeping Beauty. There are ex-Disney artists who have worked with this game as well. Now, I'm no art critic, but I know what I like, and as a fan of Disney films since being a kid, I love this feel of Disney to some of the styling of this game whilst being its own art style and storytelling style in its own right as well. Most combat animations are apparently done by rotoscoping. This is drawing over video shots frame by frame, shot in one of the studio owners' front yards. It's an animation technique of drawing over real video footage to try and get realistic action effects. With the cinematics all being done in 2D and drawn by hand with traditional animation techniques, it gives this old classic feeling to the game. There's so much craft in this game, so much love and clearly attention put into the look, feel and atmosphere, from the story art and sound. I just love the way that the art comes into it. Last but by no means least, the score, the soundtrack and the sort of general audio effects. Now, the soundtrack is by Austin Wintory. He scored some really, really atmospheric, beautiful music for some gorgeous games. You might actually, if you've played PS3 or PS4, know the game's Flow or Journey. In a game primarily set against a background of struggle in a very frozen environment, as I've said before, keeping the balance is very, very key between the light moments and the more struggle and more challenging moments. And the score does this beautifully with soaring vocals. It has some work from Peter Hollins of YouTube musical fame on there as well. And performed by the Dallas Symphony, the score manages to articulate things from the struggle of moving as a group of hungry people through a frozen environment to the relief and warmth of sitting around by a fire or having some reprieve under a roof for the first time in a week. It also moves from the drama and action of combat through to the reflection, sadness and sometimes joy that pop up at various points in the story. For me, I think an indication of an awesome soundtrack along with an awesome game is that there are points in the story where the story sticks with you and the soundtrack or the score helps make that moment stick in your mind as much as the story itself. Neither one kind of overbalances the other. And there are several moments in the Banner Saga where the music has really stuck with me as much as what happened in the actual story. Alongside the soundtrack, there's also awesome voice work and sound production. Stoic, the independent studio who made this game, worked with an Icelandic production company to get local voice actors and musical talent as well. As your caravan moves and you hear your banner fluttering on the breeze, alongside a beautiful score and the wonderful artwork as well, the three kind of come together to just make this really immersive world that you just get lost in like a good book or TV show for a few hours at a time whenever you want. Banner Saga released in 2014 after launching on Kickstarter to great success. The Banner Saga 2 is also out, that released in 2016, and you can currently pick up the first Banner Saga for anything from about $5 to $15 or $20 euros or pounds. That of course depends on what platform you're buying on or whether if on PC you're buying from a key site. But treat key sites with caution, and I'd always say support the developers through direct channels as much as you can. Depending on how you play the game, there's probably I'd say 12 to 15 hours in the Banner Saga 1 if you're really trying to play through it quickly, depending on the difficulty you play it on, the amount of time you spend customizing your party, and before of course replaying any fights. To complete the trilogy, there is going to be a Banner Saga 3 that has finished kickstarting, and it's hopefully going to be out sometime in 2018, so you've got time to play the first two games if you enjoy them, and then you have another game to look forward to next year. Taking turn-based gameplay and combat that can be as tough or as easy as you want it to be, setting it all within an amazing story in a deep, rich and beautiful looking, sounding and feeling Viking and Norse mythological fantasy world, and with a story underpinning it all that really made me think about a lot of different things when I was playing it. That's the Banner Saga for me. That's why I love this game. If that's your kind of thing, maybe you should give it a go. There you go, folks. Something a bit different for the channel. I hope you enjoyed this. Do let me know what was good, what wasn't, what bits you enjoyed and didn't, and what you thought of it in general in the comments. I'd love to do more of this kind of thing, whether it's on this channel or maybe a new channel. So your opinions and constructive criticism are very much appreciated. Do throw a like or subscribe if you enjoyed this. Do check out, of course, all my latest Overwatch videos on the channel. And a big thanks to my supporters on Patreon with the YouTube apocalypse and things hitting recently. These episodes are thanks to them. They would not exist without them. So if you enjoy this kind of thing, you'd like to see more and want to see how you could support from just $1, euro or pound a month that you can stop at any time, please do check out patreon.com/Hammeh. Cheers for tuning in, guys. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.